A main part of the book is for us to be able to face our shame and our past and our shadow, the lower parts of ourselves, that guilt and the judgment, all of the things that scare us and push us away that we want to like lock up in the past and walk
Yeah.
away from are actually the things that we are meant to face, or they're going to keep coming back and haunting us in this form. So, um, I feel like finally putting it on paper helped not only me heal, but
Oh, I could
also,
imagine.
yeah, work through that. But also then so I could help others be able to face what they have gone through as well.
Yeah. And you are. It is, you have such an inspiring story. And when I read it, there was so much that resonated with my own story. And first, the title of your book, A Witch's Way to Heaven. I mean, if you're gonna go big, why not pick a title like that? It's like, let me just show my true authentic self and be 100% real, because there's no hiding, behind that title. And as you read the book, I mean, it's the title is so fitting, and it's absolutely beautiful, and your story is beautiful, and you are so inspiring to, I mean, rip that band-aid off and just be so raw and just, this is me, I'm going to call myself a witch. And I'm not going to shy away from talking about Jesus, and like in positive way, like still have a good relationship with that. It's very inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah. I'd have to say, I explain in the intro of the book that witches in the past didn't even call themselves witches. It was a bad word in
Yeah.
the old times.
Hmm.
And but now when we use that word, it's reclaiming your power. It's this act of resistance, and it's showing that you are choosing to heal yourself. And to me, a witch is a woman who is in control of herself. And I see a witch as an intuitive woman. And so she knows how to listen to her intuition, and she knows how to face the very things that tried to kill her or take her under. And, as women, we have gone through many different types of deaths and rebirths in our lives and in different forms. And, you know, if you can face the darkness and you can bring yourself back to the light, to me that is just what it means to be a witch. And it's hard when we live in this world of, especially around Halloween time, like I love the whole decorating and to be in the theme of the witch and the pointy hat and everything, but it's not what we see in movies. A witch is not an evil woman in the woods eating children. She is this powerful, intuitive, strong being. So, um, I know lots of witches in my life, and not very many of them actually like to call themselves a witch or would ever say that. But to me, I'm like, you're a witch.
Yeah.
Like I know
Yeah.
you have the connection to your inner truth. And I explain in the beginning of my story too that a lot of us have been very disconnected from our intuition, and it
Oh, yeah.
started out when we were younger.
Hmm.
And it, especially if you were raised in a particular religion that told you everything was outside of you and
Hmm.
nothing was in here, and you couldn't really trust what was going on in here, it makes us distrust ourselves and be fearful of getting those visions or messages or just the little voices or the signs that can happen and the universe aligning to you, which is God or your higher self trying to speak to you. Like
Yeah.
we shove them off and think that it's not real. And so I was there. It took me a very long time to connect to my intuition and to my inner truth and myself and see what was real for me and what was going on. And I would have visions or things come through, and I ignored them
Yeah,
because I didn't think that I was allowed to have them. And that's
right.
how it is, especially for women in general. There is a part in the book where I talk about the witch wound.
Hmm.
And in general, a lot of women look at the witch wound as like, I don't know how to be intuitive and I don't know how to speak my truth. I don't know how to step into my power because of what women have been through in the past, which is very true. But in my book, I try to explain that in order to heal the wound at the deepest level, we have to be able to go in and find that forgiveness and be able to know that, yes, women in the past suffered. Yes, this has happened generation after generation. But now we're given the opportunity to be able to speak our truth, to be able to stand up and say what we want to choose what we want to do with our bodies. And it's powerful in that. So if we keep holding on to what happened in the past and we keep being angry at the men or the religions or whatever it is for you and your lineage, then we keep that wound as a wound. And so the biggest thing for me in healing wounds is being able to forgive and let go. And that's another belief of mine of what a witch can do is like we can go to the underworld and we can get our hands dirty for the other generations, for our future generations, for our children, and someday our grandchildren, like knowing that we went in and we dug deep into the wound to actually bring that healing to the surface. And um, it's a privilege to be able to connect to our intuition and trust it. And yeah, it was really hard to say I'm a witch. And but when I claimed it, things just shift for me. Like I just felt this power and this sense of like alignment. It's something
Hmm.
that's always called to me. And um I say in my book, like, a witch, people fear the witch because of her powers and whatever, but our only power is our intuition.
Yeah,
And there's so much power in being able to listen to it and claim it and use it.
right. And it's almost like they're probably more intimidated, if anything, because they like most, I think that's what it is. A lot of us, we're very strong and yeah, we we weren't afraid to go down to the deep dark
Yeah.
places and face like all these emotions that have been holding us back in life. And I think it's intimidating to other people because they don't want to look at themselves in that mirror and they don't want to face it and they don't want to heal themselves. And I think it's more sometimes that fear that we're going to call them out, or like I think we like almost have this look like we could see their true colors, and I think it scares them.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I love hearing what you just said. Really, really touched my heart because there is like, this confusion about you wanting to express how, like in my case, like, and Megan's, but I don't want to speak for her, is
No,
that
it's okay.
as a medium and psychic and having all this intuition, you are always fearful of the rejection. And I always felt connected with nature in such a way. And I drink water knowing that it's a live thing, that it powers and gives life to everything. It's not just a transparent liquid that, is going to quench my thirst, but a living thing. And there's other things like you touch a tree and you can touch the wisdom in it and all these things. And I came to the realization too, like you said, am I a witch? And I immediately said, God, I only imagine if people hear me even thinking about it, but the reality, it's like, and I looked it up and it also is like a wisdom, like a woman full of wisdom. So it not necessarily, I'm not calling myself a wise woman, but there's wisdom in life. There's wisdom in the things that we do.
You
And
can call
so,
yourself a wise woman, Heidi.
mhm.
You are very, very wise.
Thank
Give
you.
yourself some credit.
And so hearing you say that, it's just like yesterday we recorded a podcast called Divine Timing. And it's just like your divine timing because it reassures,
Yeah.
that thinking, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think that what you are also, it's an alchemist, and it's such a beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's another piece that I can stem in from my book is, how we mentioned, I grew up in religion. Um, Even if you don't use the word witch, the word mystic is another word that's is very, accepted and just the same to me. And I look at Jesus now as a mystic. And there was this part of me that wanted to disconnect from him. I say it in my book as like, I broke up with him. I
Yeah.
was like, I want nothing to do with you. And then, as my journey continued, he came back. And, I watched your episode this morning that when Megan was explaining her own journey. And, as I went through different trainings, I was desperate to heal myself. So I found yoga. I found access bars training for the brain. I did Reiki training, and within my Reiki training, I had two different masters, and it was in my second master attunement that Jesus showed up as one of my guides, and I was like, what are you doing here? Like I was mad at first because I was like, I didn't want you. I didn't even want to say the word God anymore. There was a lot of, you know, um, hurt and pain from growing up a particular way that I was trying to get away from that. But this healing came forward when I learned like I don't have to see him in the conservative way that I was taught, and he doesn't fit in a box. He was also a mystic. He could touch and heal somebody. He could heal the blind. He could turn water into wine. There was like, how is that not a mystic?
Right.
There's so much. So it opened up this door for me. And then I realized, like, okay, like it's not follow him, it's not worship him, it's do what he did. And so I explain in my book that I believe he was trying to teach us as a mystic, as a, enlightened being, to work on our lower selves and bring it to our higher selves. And that nobody could do that but ourselves. And
Yeah.
that's what a witch does. She works on herself. She's not out here asking, we become these healers and these mystic women to help others, but we're helping them look at themselves and to
Yes.
really do the work for themselves. And that's what I kept finding. Like I thought like doing all these trainings and going to shamans and different healers and teachers was going to heal me. But each time I learned and things got deeper and deeper, it was like, oh, I have to do the work. I can't just hand it over to Jesus or to God and say, heal me. No,
Mhm.
like the goal was for me to face those very things, like I mentioned in the beginning.